All right. You may not be familiar, but this thing right here is a dead cat bounce. That's what it is. And it's going to be. I mean, it's not confirmed yet, but what I suspect is going to happen is we're going to come down this way, right? And this is a dead cat bounce. Either it's going to go down further, much further, which is entirely possible, and really come down to the 200 week. And I've been going at this for a while now, a couple of days. Look at my cup. I think it's a dead cat bounce. And since we've closed below the 50, this is over. We're going down to the 200. How long is it going to take? I think it's going to take a couple of weeks. I don't think it's going to take several months. I don't think it's going to take years. I think it's going to take a couple of weeks, maybe 4 to 8 weeks, right? So that is a couple months, but like not 6 months. I think we're due for it, and I think it's going to happen soon. But what I want to talk about today is how Russia is going to be a catalyst for this occurring. Because, okay, so look, things are happening, right? Okay, so things are beginning to occur. I think a war is going to break out relatively soon. I'm selling out of my positions because I do not want to be in positions when the entire market is selling off. Like, what are we at? That everything is selling. So Nasdaq's down about 1.5%. This is wild, right? That's really high for Nasdaq. Like those kind of things. Like it's gonna go further. We are beginning This is the beginning of a recession. The reason it's the beginning of a recession is because when interest rates go up to slow the economy, I mean, to basically not to slow the economy down, but bring inflation rates down, you're going to see a slowing down of the economy. And that's going to slow down everything, right? Including investments. You're going to have less ability to take loans out, all these sort of things. So this is technically the beginning of the end. Let's get right into it. Look, there is a region, let me tell you, in defense of Russia, I know it's wild, but in defense of Russia, Russia needs to make sure that they can have some semblance of safety between these people. These people are barbarians. And it's the West. It's us, right? I'm a cultural Westerner. And this is the West, right? We are very we're aggressive people. Let's put it that way. Russia's been invaded 4 times, right, in the last 1,000 years. Once by the Holy Roman Empire. I consider them the British. Once by France, Napoleon, and twice by Germany. Okay, that makes Russia very nervous, right? Because they suspect the next group of people that are going to invade and take over Russia is the United States, right? Because what you don't need to take over all of Russia. Like this thing is massive. You don't need to do the whole thing. All you need to do really is get rid of Moscow, hold Moscow, and the vast majority of it's finished. Right? All of these countries are Western. Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. They all. I don't think Finland is a part of NATO, but Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and now Ukraine, Poland, Romania. All of these countries are part of NATO, and Ukraine wants to be a part of NATO. Now, what happens if and Belarus does not? Belarus is very close to Russia. What happens if Ukraine joins? The Union, let's call it. Well, then the more military and more of a closing in of Russia, right? And this is potentially the beginning of the end of Russia. Russia's legitimately nervous, not only because it's been invaded 4 times, but let's talk about why it's been invaded 4 times. It is phenomenally easy to invade Russia. Why? Because if you ever think about it, Switzerland is allowed has always been neutral during the 2 world wars. It's just stayed out of it. It's been like, no, we're not interested in fighting. It's just not our thing. Well, you know why? Because they're surrounded by mountains, right? No country can actually easily invade them. France could never stay neutral. It's easy because this plain here, you just march your troops right through, right? There's nothing. You just march them through. It's really nothing. Same with Germany, all of these Poland. Poland is a basically flat land, right? That's what it is, basically flat land. Germans just walked through here. They didn't do anything, just walked. Like it was a flat piece of land in World War II. And it still is, of course, right? And it's really flat, all the way from here, all the way to up here. to Moscow. That's why Switzerland can stay neutral and really say, screw all of you. Like, we don't really care. While a lot of these countries can't. They don't have natural land barriers. Of course, the United Kingdom does, but it has a permeable barrier, right? Water. You can just sail across that thing. It's not impossible. And so this is some of Russia's concerns. Geography-wise, it's not in the best state. It's a huge country. It's difficult to protect all these borders. Mongolia, Kazakhstan, China is somewhat friendly to Russia. Even if they did, like, taking over these pieces of land, it's not that much value. There isn't that much value there, though there will be a lot more value. But the west side of Russia is quite valuable, and really, it's the heart of the nation is in the west here. The other problem is that the demographics of Russia are not good, right? The Russian demographics, I wonder if we can pull up a nice chart. They're not good. And the reason it's not good, and here you go. So you see that the population of Russia is going to continue to decrease. Now, in the West, what we do to combat this problem, because we have a very similar problem, is let's use Canada as an example. One of the problems we have out here is the growth rate of the country is not enough. So what's the solution? Bring in immigrants, right? And so you can see the immigrant. Yeah, exactly. So this is not internal growth, right? It's not like me and my brother in here having, all of us having a bunch of offspring. It's not that. This is immigration. In fact, next 3 years, I think they plan to bring 500,000 people each year to continue growing the population. It's great, right? It's nice that people want to be here. Yeah, it's going to be way more. It's going to be way, way more. We did 43,000 last year, I guess. And so it's going to be way more. This is a problem. Now, for Russia, they can't do this, right? They have a different kind of population. They have a population where people aren't allowed in. They're not welcome into the country. They're not absorbing people. And this is going to cause trouble. And guess what it's going to cause trouble for? This is going to cause trouble for the tax base. And what's that mean for the tax? Well, when the tax base goes, you can't defend your borders anymore. How do you pay for your military? Where do you inscript your fighting folk, right? All these kind of things start falling apart, especially when the countries around you are growing. Like if Ukraine starts taking immigrants, and Poland and Germany's already doing it, right? And they're, of course, taking them from this region, right? This region and this region. But, this is what makes this country as great as it is, right? It's that they allow, all these countries allow for that kind of stuff. And I think Russia is in a squeeze, and in a few generations, as we can see, the ethnic Russians will basically disappear, right? And it'll be mostly the locals, right? I mean, not the locals. It'll be like, whomever procreates the more, which is not the ethnic Russians. So ethnic Russians are not such fans. So you see the growth rate is slowing, right? We're at negative percents right now. And what that means is you're not procreating enough to replace yourself. So you have a pair that produce one offspring. That is just not enough to stimulate growth. You need it way higher than that. So this will be a problem. So, long story short, Russia needs to make moves in the near term to solve these problems. So that's why we saw Russia invade Georgia in 2008, then Crimea in 2014, and in 2022 they will do Russia, right? They will do Russia. There's some like 150,000 troops stationed around Russia. They're going to take Russia. I would be shocked if they didn't. If Russia wasn't taken, I'd be absolutely flabbergasted. So Russia's going to be taken. And Ukraine. And it's a strategic move. It's really important. So then they have Belarus as a friend and Ukraine as another buffer. And this gives them some safety. I don't know what they'll do over here. If they gain enough strength, they'll try to do these. But I don't think there's enough time. Where Russia needs to consolidate what it can now as it has the power, and then move away. And then basically hold, right? That's the idea. And hold for the long term until they can solve this problem, until there's a cultural change and the people are willing to, change in other aspects and ways. Well, it's absolutely important. There's a pipeline that goes right through here. I believe it goes this way through the Baltic Sea directly into Germany. It goes right through here, cutting past all of these countries right through the Baltic Sea. That's Nord Stream 2. It's not been allowed to operate. the US primarily is behind that because Russia wants to invade Ukraine. The existing pipeline right now goes through Ukraine. And that's a big deal because when that pipeline goes through Ukraine, and I don't know if it goes through Poland or Slovenia, Czechia? What is this? Czech Republic. Okay, they must have changed their name. I don't know how it goes, but it goes to Germany because these two pipelines produce, or this Nord Stream 1 produces like 90% or like 70% of all of the gas use in Europe, which is an absurd number. So, there are a lot of levels to this, and I think Ukraine's going to get a boot here, but it's almost inevitable, right? I would not expect anything different. Anyways, this is the end of the stream. I will talk to you tomorrow. Expect a Russian invasion. Get your cash. I'm getting my cash out of the market. Remember, this is financial entertainment, not advice, but I'm going to take my money out of the market because I don't feel that things are going to look good for the near term. Interest rates rise, economy falters, invasion. And in the short term, at least, I want to see a bottom for Bitcoin so that I can buy in at a steal of a price, right? Like something around here would be an absolute steal. This is where I want to be buying. If I get it around here, then I'm happy to, happy to just hodl, move it all to my hardware wallet and hang out. See you guys shortly.